I don't know, man. I've had the house for like 6 weeks. I can't find a tenant. If I don't ever rent it out, I gotta pay both mortgages. I'm gonna be screwed, said Kris Krohn never. Oh my gosh, why is every brand new investor's favorite fantasy, I'm gonna buy a house and it's never gonna get rented? Well, listen, truth is when you've done this to a tune of $1 billion like I have, there are actually secrets to getting the best tenants. Check them out.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Man, I get it. If you play the game of real estate long enough, you know what it feels like to either have a house unrented or worse. Dude, when one of your tenants beats up your house. And you know what? Financially, it feels a little bit frightening, especially if you didn't prepare for it. And it makes some people skittish, which is different than skid marks. Today, however, we're talking about this. Finding the best tenants for your real estate. Not mediocre, not average, but the right ones. Listen, if you're gonna play the real estate game, you're gonna have to get good at finding the right kind of renters. In today's video, I'm actually gonna show you how to find the best renters. Actually, a kind of renter where you can make twice as much money than the typical run-of-the-mill game the way most investors play it. But first, check this out from Zillow. They said this, 70% of renters who moved within the last year moved from one rental to another. And many were already thinking about their next move. In other words, we're never gonna run out of renters, like whether it's bad credit or they need flexibility or maybe they just can't get their financial act together, they're always going to exist, which means that you have to understand there are those that you do not wanna rent to and there are those that you absolutely do. So how do you tell them apart? The honest truth at the end of the day is that the best tenant is the one who makes the most money. Kid you not, that is the highest correlation, which means you don't want to buy in the slums. You don't want to buy a really low-end, unattractive home. You could play that game if you wanted. The truth is the best renters typically come to nicer houses in nicer neighborhoods. And I typically select markets and focus on areas where I know that people actually have really decent affordability. They make a lot of money and they can afford a lot more house than the houses actually cost in that area. And before I share with you my secret weapon on why my renters literally pay me twice as much money in profits, understand that there's a lot of ways that you can advertise to find tenants in the first place. It's a little bit of a numbers game and you should open up as many outlets as possible, right? I mean, listen, realtors sometimes in certain high-end areas will actually list. You've got signs, physical ones you can put out there. There's property managers where like that's what they do for a living. You got direct mail, you got friends and colleagues and referrals and there's all these different things like online. Think of all the websites for just rentals. Like if you're seriously concerned and worried about getting your place rented, then make sure it's listed on in as many different places as possible. If you do that, you're gonna already be kind of in good hands. But you know what? Let's not waste any more time in this video talking about like the standard run-of-the-mill approach to finding renters. Let me show you where the real money's at. I was literally in the process of purchasing my very first rental property and I was gonna rent it out. And then I had these buddies that had bought several homes before and they said, hey Kris, if you put this weird lease option sign, like rent to own sign in the front yard, you're gonna get a different kind of person that is gonna wanna rent the house, but they'll actually give you more money and there's more that you can give them in return. And I'm like, dude, what are you guys smoking? What are you talking about? Well, years later, I wrote a book about it because I based my first 25 home portfolio on something I'm about to share with you. If you've seen any of my videos on the term lease option or compassionate financing, check this out. Lease option tenants, these are the better tenants. These are the right tenants. And this is a way for you to make a lot more money. Now listen, if you're not really clear on what a lease option is, you can click right over here and actually I'll show you a video explaining all of it and breaking it down. But here's what I really want you to understand right now. When you're doing a lease option, it's really called a rent to own, which means instead of just renting the place, the person that owns it, you as the investors I'm training you, are actually gonna say, hey, actually you can rent it until you're able to buy it. And if you do that, when I say it's 2 times more profitable, it's because you're gonna collect a down payment up front, usually 3, 5, 7, 10 grand that you wouldn't with a rental. You're gonna charge a couple $100 a month higher than the market going rent. Those 2 things alone, and then on top of that, you don't need a property manager. They're actually gonna fix up, they're gonna take care of the house. I mean, literally, watch the video, it'll break it all down. But this video is really about how do you find those tenants, Kris? How do you find the people that want to pay that money? And it starts with this, signs. You know, you can post a lease option or a rent to own anywhere online, but do you know what still proves to be one of the most effective methods? You're hardly going to believe it. A sign.
Oh my God.
Like, isn't that kind of archaic? Like literally posting signs in the yard. I'm about to show you how I do it. And basically what it does is it targets people in the area that live there that are thinking, oh my gosh, I would love to own a home in this area. You also get fewer false leads. These people aren't calling from out of state or the other side of town. It's also super non-intrusive marketing. And honestly, it's kind of cheap. Now I'm gonna show you 3 different types of signs, and the first one is a little laughable. It's an image that comes right out of my book, and I drew it all by myself. It looks like a kindergartner made this sign on a bright fluorescent piece of paper that says, rent to own, no bank qualifying, a phone number, and bad credit okay. And I am making 3 of these signs. Like, you know, the poster boards that you get from Michael's or Hobby Lobby or wherever? Like, that's literally what I'm making. I'm gonna post that in the yard, because what it does is it tells people something unofficial is officially happening here. That's right, it's handmade. Why? Because I want them to know they're not talking to a bank. They're talking to a human being that has created some type of flexibility program. But there's a couple other signs. I'm gonna take literally one of these for sale by owner signs in the yard, and what am I communicating? A different message that says, I'm really open-minded. And then I have for rent. Why would I put a for rent sign? Because when they look at all these signs, I almost like a desperate human being saying, please help do something with this house, creates a lot of curiosity. And if that's not over the top enough, I'm literally going to put flag banners up on the property. I'm going to be slapping signs everywhere, like on the busy street saying, point, come this way, rent to own. And all I'm trying to do is create traffic. I'm trying to make that phone call ring, baby. Look at this amazing graphic I made in Keynote. What you have here is the house. You have your hideous signs. You got a rent to own sign right here. Your for rent, your for sale, your rent to own. And you have a big rent to own right here. You've got your flags coming off here. These are blue trees. And basically I'm trying to, as obnoxiously as possible, say, ta-da, the circus is in town. And if you're interested in buying this house and you have no idea what rent to own means, you better call. Right, so I'm just gonna put these signs in the yard and then I'm gonna find the best tenants. Now I get it, man, I'd be a little skeptical too. The truth is, I've got people everywhere that are doing this literally right now as we speak. In fact, right now, let's actually go boots on the ground to Morris and Noel and see what their experience is like on their last 5 lease options. Morris and Noel, listen, I'm glad that I get a chance to connect with you guys. How are you doing?
We're doing great, Kris. We're really excited to connect and just excited about all that's happening.
Tell me, even though I teach the whole marketing strategies, will you just lay out what you're doing that's working with marketing these homes to find the tenants?
To find the tenants?
Yeah.
The tenants, we love the 5 signs in the yard.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the flags.
You guys are doing the full circus.
Yes, our 7-year-old puts the little flags out there for us. She has so much fun.
Good.
And then,
Go ahead.
you know, we started off doing like bandit signs on telephone poles.
Yep.
We were doing a little bit of Craigslist, but really I like just going out and putting out signs in the city. And at first I was doing telephone poles. I found out that I like the signs that, you know, just stick in the ground and find a couple busy intersections. And the one that we got that $8,000 down payment, I asked him, well, how'd you find us? He was like, oh, just your little sign that was in the ground. And
We also go to introduce ourselves to the neighbors.
Yeah.
They love that. And one of our tenants is actually from
That's true,
introducing
yeah.
ourselves to them. And they were like, wow, God sent you. I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
we used your flyer to introduce ourselves to the neighbor, and we actually got one of our tenants that way.
Excellent. Let me ask you, how many weeks is it taking to find a tenant on average for you guys right now?
The first one took 28 days. We're finding that, 3 or 4 weeks. Actually, our second house, though, we got a tenant in the house before we put signs in the yard.
Wow.
And it was just having contacts from the first house that didn't work out, and then they were ready for that next house. And
Mind you, this is in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes, I know. Exactly. Well, listen, You guys are doing a fantastic job. I'm proud of you. I got to get you sometime out here in my studio, but I'm glad that we could even just take a few minutes and connect right now. Listen, I am literally praying that this year gets to be a full 30 properties, that this gets to be a complete replacement from job, and that you get more of the freedom that you're looking for. Now, you might be thinking that I'm going into a lot of detail for a YouTube video, but guess what? Like, if you have a house or you're gonna be buying one soon, I really want you to understand and have confidence in this marketing strategy. You see, all these people now are gonna start calling and you're like, what do I actually tell these people? You're gonna say, blah, 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 get to an open house. This Saturday or this evening or twice a week, come here, come there. And you're trying to get a whole bunch of people to actually get to the house all at once, because what you're going to do is let them walk through the house and wait for someone to fall in love with it and say, you know what? This is actually the droid that I've been looking for. This is the house that I've been looking for.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
Now, super important that you're not spending a lot of time on the phone. You're trying to get them to that open house so they can fall in love with it if they walk through and like it. So I have this adage here, KISS. You probably heard it before. Keep it simple, stupid. In other words, this isn't your turn to shine and say, look how smart I am. The more you talk on the phone, the more confused they can be. You just want them to show up at the house and see if the house is right for them. It's pretty sweet. You got several people, families to come over all at once. They all have that feeling of, oh no, one house, a lot of people looking at it. And at the end of this open house, they're gonna come and basically say, what is this rent to own thing? And you're gonna say, listen, fill out this application, tell me about your credit and your finances and where you're at. And then you're gonna show on the flyer that you have a $3,000, a $5,000, a $7,000, a $10,000 option. And the more they pay up front, the lower their rent will be. But either way, even if they just pay $3,000 down, they're probably gonna pay $300 more a month, maybe $400 more a month than a straight rental. Then it's your job to evaluate their income, make sure it's high enough for the price of the home in the area, and ask for some non-family references, make sure they do in fact have that job. And if they've got the down payment and they've got good income and they wanna own the house, not just rent it, you may have literally just found yourself a perfect tenant. Man, Kris, you sure do give a lot of value in your videos. Well, guess what? Reality is I've just shared with you 1% of the wealth and knowledge you really want to own and possess. If you want to learn how to market these homes super and easy, and I'll even show you how to buy these homes on lease option. Bottom line is it's all in my book, and to you, my friend, it's free. As in, if you click the link below, I will have my team drop this in the mail, ship it to you, and give you an opportunity to understand the system that helped me make $1.6 million by 26. I became financially free with the basic 6-figure residual income. I quit my job, and I gotta tell you, I've never looked back since. I wanna give you perhaps some of the best advice that I possibly can. There's a lot of things to learn how to do out there in the game of real estate. You could say, Kris, I think I should learn about flipping, or I should learn about wholesaling, or I should learn about rentals, or is it lease options, or is it multifamily? Is it commercial? It's overwhelming. There's just so much to learn. And what you need to do in the beginning is specialize. What I love about lease option is I get to make upfront money as if it's like a mini flip. I get to make a superior monthly cash flow as if it's like a double rental. And bottom line is I built my entire portfolio on this notion that it was the best approach. And when I actually wrote this book, it was based on an argument that out of the top 30 strategies in real estate, if you want to do what will take the least time and the least effort and the least risk and make the most money, it is actually found right here in this book. So make sure you do click below and get an opportunity to pick that up for free, because I want you to own that knowledge. But beyond that, you might be thinking, all right, Kris, like helpful video, but I'm not really sure I fully understand and grasp this concept of a lease option. If you feel like you'd like to master that, understand it way better, watch this video. I'll clear that up right now. But basically, you're basically trying to basically.
We're actually not banners, so it's flag.
Thank you, I'll try it again.